Hi, and welcome to another segment of Hot Tips from the Soul. Yes, that's right. We have some tips that will be given to motivate and inspire you. And I have my special guest, Mr. John Garcia, who is a motivational speaker extraordinaire. And I can't wait for him to give you some information and tell his story about resiliency. That's why we're talking about living beyond the diagnosis. John,
Well, hello there, Valerie. It's good to see you and good to hear
indeed.
you.
It's always so good to see you, John. How many years has it been since we've known each other?
Oh, I can tell you that it has been, let me see, 20 minus 3, 18, 19 years.
Yeah, dang, we
Atlanta,
look good.
Georgia.
We look
Yeah,
great.
I'll hear that. I'll second that emotion.
Amen. And John, you know the show is Living Beyond the Diagnosis, and I I want you to share your story. You're been dealing with cancer. How long has it been since your diagnosis?
Well, I was diagnosed 20 years, 2 months, and 2 weeks ago. Can you believe that?
Wow.
But there's more to the story. You want me to go ahead and start with
Yeah,
with
I
this
want you to tell the story because I'm still shocked. So, actually, so you had been diagnosed with cancer before
when
we
we met?
met. Wow, I didn't
Exactly.
know that. And
Yeah,
how
because
we met was you wanted to be trained how to be a better motivational speaker because you were already out speaking, but you wanted to take your craft to another level. So you wanted to be trained, and you wanted to be trained by the master, the legend himself, Mr. Les Brown.
that is correct. Lots of stories in that statement as well.
I
But let me
know
start off.
we've traveled everywhere, right?
What's that song by Johnny Cash? I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. Yes, we have.
God is so good and so kind and so faithful.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. For your listeners, I was diagnosed with what they call renal cell carcinoma. That's kidney cancer. It was stage 4. It was terminal, and it was incurable. Not only that, but it had also not only taken out the right kidney, but the adrenal gland and the vena cava going to my heart. So the doctor that I saw said, "There's nothing we can do for you. Go home and get your affairs in order." In fact, judging by the size of the tumor and how much disease you have in your body, we would guess that uh, you've had the cancer for 5 to 7 years, but if you're lucky, you've only got 2 months left to live.
Wow.
Imagine that, 2 months. That was a shocker. So I asked for another opinion, and I got another opinion from another doctor begrudgingly because he didn't want to send me. I had to fight for it, and for your listeners, you'll have to fight for everything that's owed to you when you get diagnosed or when you have a diagnosis that's that's difficult. Fight for what's yours. I fought for mine. I got the second opinion from a second doctor at a second hospital, and he said there really isn't anything we can do. I'm going to tell you the same thing the other doc told you. If you're lucky, you have 2 months to live. So what did I do? I asked for a third opinion. I was mad by then, but the sands in the hourglass were ticking by, and 2 months is, if my math is correct, is 8 weeks, and 8 weeks had already dwindled down to 4 weeks. So judging by that, I had 4 weeks to live if you listen to them, the diagnosis and the prognosis. I went to the third doctor, and he said, "Look, go home and get your affairs in order. Rest easy, lay on the couch, watch Oprah, do what you have to do, but try to maintain a very easy life because you don't have much left." Well, that really made me mad. And then I got a fourth opinion. I went to the top cancer center in the world. Listen to this, listeners. The top cancer center in the world, MD Anderson Cancer Center. And when I got there, I met the top physician for the type of cancer that I had. He's world renowned. And he said to me, "They're right. There's nothing they can do." I love that. There's nothing they can do, but we're a research hospital. You've come to the right place. We might be able to
Mm.
get you 6 months, maybe a year, maybe longer, if you'll agree to become part of our study groups, our trial groups. I said, "Absolutely, put me in, coach." And therein began the journey that I was on. Didn't know what was going to happen, but I wasn't about to give up. I had the diagnosis. You got kidney cancer. It's bad. It's a depleted many of your organs, but the prognosis that they were trying to give me 2 months, I wasn't believing that. I believe
Mhm.
the diagnosis, not the prognosis. I said, you know what? Docs can give me the diagnosis. We'll work around whatever we have to, but God's going to give me the prognosis. And true to His word, here I am, 20 years later, not 2 months later, 20 years later. I just celebrated that January the 4th. And if we do the math correctly, it's been uh, 20 years and 2 months, basically. So I'm very, very fortunate. But not just fortunate, this was strategic. And I want
Mhm.
you to understand this. When you get diagnosed, when it's a dire diagnosis, and I don't care what it is, whether it's cancer or anything else, except ugly, because ugly is incurable. But whatever diagnosis you get that you have to fight through, accept the diagnosis, learn everything you can about it, get the best care that you can possibly get, and then prepare yourself to fight from here to here. The biggest part of the fight is in the brain. The brain
Mm.
will do what you ask it to do. I have many, many friends. I imagine I'm now a spokesperson for MD Anderson Cancer Center. Imagine how many people I've seen just diagnosed, start their journey, and then they fall off the face of the earth because they believe the negative and they quit fighting. When you quit fighting, it'll take over. The cancer will take over. The diagnosis of whatever you have, lupus or whatever it is, will take over. But you can beat it. How many people have you heard of that fell in a crevice in the Grand Canyon and had to chew off his arm and survived rather
Right.
than die in the desert? How about guys who were blown up in the Iraq War and they have no legs left and they were bleeding out and yet they're alive today running marathons? The brain is where you have to center yourself and put the diagnosis in there, learn everything you know, and it can find out. For me, it took four different uh, four different doctors, four different hospitals, and then from then I started learning every time because the cancer has metastasized 11 times over. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it went from the right kidney to my lung, from my lung to both lungs. Then it went to my other kidney, my pancreas, my liver, my ribs on the right side, my spinal column, the lymph nodes. I mean, it's all over. Even in my deltoids, if you can see them, I've got some pretty good ones. Muscle,
But how long had it metastasized?
it the first 5 years were good years. And they said if you get to 5 years, you're declared a cancer survivor. Well, Les
Mhm.
Brown told us, don't use the word survivor.
Right.
I say, and when I speak, I say ants survive and cockroaches survive. I'm not a survivor. Cancer conqueror. That's a solid word.
Mm.
Eat that brain, conquer.
Yes.
In the 6th year, I went back for a follow up, and guess what? It had metastasized the first time. The first time post the original diagnosis. It has metastasized since then 10 more times, a total of 11 metastases all throughout my body. I have 52 active tumors in my body. I go to the hospital every month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month for infusions and for the study trial drug and for the immunotherapies and for everything else that I have to go. But I go with a smile. I go in there ready to fight, knowing that I'm the champion. I'm the one that's going to win. And there's no way no one's going to tell me anything different. And with that attitude, you have a fighting chance. Yes,
Yes.
I'm almost going to die, but you don't have to die of this thing, whatever it is that's ailing your listeners, whatever it is that's ailing me.
And one of the things I like about you, John, is that you've always been resilient, regardless of what's been thrown at you. You've expanded and enlarged your territory. You had a chance to see your daughters graduate, where they said that there was no way you would even see that. Talk about that journey and that process through that, and even talk about the fact when they didn't want to give you the chemo or medication. What were your next steps after that?
Fight for myself. Okay, I said a while ago that the fight begins first in the brain. You've got to tell that brain what you're going to do. Your brain's got to believe it. Your brain will take over.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I put in my mind was, okay, I've got 3 little girls, and they're in middle school, and one of them is just hasn't even started school, and I've got to get through this somehow, some way. I want to see them at graduation, and then I elongated my goal to graduation from college. from their bachelor's. No, from their master's. All three of them have graduated. They all have master's degrees now. One of them is working on a doctorate. I mean, that you just keep moving the goalpost. So the diagnosis to me was a point that somebody educated believed was where somebody with my typical disease, with the amount of disease that I had, should be at. But my brain said, no, we're going to beat those odds because I am not going to stop short. So I finally got to see my oldest daughter get married. She's 33 years old. And so I saw her get married in New York City 10 months ago, last April. And that was great. So I just keep moving the goalpost. Not now, not now. You're not going to tell me when I'm going to die. Well, I'll die when God tells me. Not you, God.
Amen. Amen.
Not you. So it was the
Talking
same thing.
about faith.
Absolutely. And it was the same way when I was originally diagnosed, when they said, okay, you're beyond the point where we could even give you chemo. I said, well, I'll do a study trial. Well, these are harsh and they haven't been tried on humans. I'm a human. I'll be the first one. I'll be the guinea pig. And I've been the guinea pig in 5 of these journeys. Lost my
Wow.
voice for a while. I completely lost my voice. And I negotiated a multi-million-dollar contract with no voice, simply with my iPhone, typing the words in and letting the phone do the talking. Be innovative. Be innovative. Find a way around it. You got to find a way over the mountain or through the mountain or under it or around it, but you've got to get to the other side. And that mountain to me is the diagnosis or the problem. And my favorite book says, if you had the faith of a mustard seed, you could tell the mountain to move, and surely it would. So to me, it was just mountains in my way that shouldn't be there, but I was going to find a way to the other side, whatever it took.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's so powerful about your testimony. And I thought it was so important for you to be here to share, because there's so many people going through situations in their lives that as soon as the doctor tells them something, they crumble up and believe the report instead of taking faith in, like you said, do research and find out more about what the diagnosis is and how that you can combat it. How important is it to keep a regimen and multivitamins or eating habits? What did you have to cut out?
Not only cut out, but enhance and put in everything. I had to go back and reevaluate everything I was doing with my body. First of all, just in full disclosure, I'm a retired military warrior. So I had a warrior's mentality already. I was going to fight. I wasn't going to die on the battlefield. So that was the first thing that I put in my mind. We're fighting.
Ooh.
It's a tough battle, but we're not going to quit. We're going to get to the other end, and we're going to take people with us. We're not going to leave anyone behind.
Mhm.
So in my mind, I said, okay, I've got a diagnosis of terminal cancer. So what? I'm going to fight it. I'm going to beat it. I'll be the first one. Well, I wasn't. I'm not. There's other people that have come before me. But like Les has told us many, many times before, he said the 3 most feared words on 7 continents are, you have cancer. I'll take it one step further. They hear you have cancer, but in their mind, they're hearing you're going to die. And that's not true. Eventually, yeah, we all die. It may be from that disease or that diagnosis, or it may be from getting in a car crash or from life. But we're going to die eventually. That's part of that cycle. But in the meantime, get busy living. So I decided I was going to get busy living, regardless of how hard it was. It's been hard. I will tell you, some of those being first in line on a new study trial, it is hard. They hit you with so many chemicals and so many medications that your body has to adjust and start fighting. And guess what? The cancer inside, or the problem inside, for those of you who don't have cancer, is fighting just as hard to take you out. You have to stand up harder and fight harder, whatever it is. So I did that, and I kept doing that. Now, some of the people listening to me will say, well, I'm not a retired military warrior. I don't have that fighting mentality. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Let me prove it to you. When you were born, you couldn't talk, but you started learning because you saw somebody uttering words, mom and dad, and pretty soon you were going goo goo gaga mama. Pretty soon you were saying mama, dada, and now your mama and dad will tell you, shut up, you talk too much. First battle won. Second battle, you stood up because people were walking. You stood up at the coffee table, took a step, and you fell back down in your dirty diaper. What did you do? You got back up. You were learning to be a winner. It's not till later in life that we learn to lose because we're programmed to learn to win.
Yes.
And so that's what I want people to understand. It's in you already. It may be hidden by so many years of negative stuff that you've heard, but let me assure you, it is in you. And if you just work it, it'll work. It will work if you work it.
Yes. And one of the things I said was that you're a motivational speaker, but you started a new business,
I did. I've started several new businesses
several new businesses.
since the diagnosis. Why? Why not? Right? I mean, here's the bottom line.
Legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, legacy and it's for my daughters. It's for those who are behind after I'm gone. But I wanted the financial stability for them as well. But here's the bottom line: when somebody tells you you can't do somebody, you say, "Yes, I can." I was working as a motivational speaker until I found out that you could do it for money. You could get paid
Yeah.
for it. I was doing it for free. It was already in me.
I
So I
know
said,
when
okay,
you
I'll do
told
it.
me what you were getting, I was like, are you
Yes. Oh, you're frozen, Valerie. Can you still hear me?
okay? Just keep
Okay.
talking, John.
Okay. Yeah, you're frozen on the video, but I hear you.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, I was making $50 a speech. The last speech I gave, I made $21,000. Can you believe that? I
oh,
mean,
I
it's just
believe it.
yeah, because you do
Of
it.
course, you know I believe it.
Yeah. So here's the bottom line, though. It's not really about the money. It's about the belief that you have. And sometimes, like I remember Les saying, sometimes you have to believe in somebody else's belief in you until yours kick in.
Until yours
That's
kick
why I'm
in.
here today. That's why you brought me in here today for your listeners to hear my story because I believe in them. I know they've got inside of them what it takes. I just want them to be able to unleash it. And so hopefully something I say will help them do that. So I started the business of being a trainer, actually, first, a business speaker, and it was okay. But the motivational part, that's what I love, helping
Mhm.
people out in areas that they have no clue that they could even get out. People can train people on how to make money or how to start a business or how to get an automobile shop or a camera shop, whatever you want, whatever business. But it'll fail unless your brain says, when the times are tough, I'm going to get tougher. And it's the same in business as it is um, in your battles of life.
And how important is it to stick to a regimen in the process to do it? Do you do affirmations?
Absolutely. I went and visited Joel Osteen's church. You might have heard of it, Lakewood, and his mother uh, had a diagnosis of stage 4 terminal cancer,
Yes, I
and,
remember her testimony.
and she's lived now for God, what has it been, 30 some years, almost 40
Almost
years.
40 years.
And so I went and I listened to her speak on one afternoon. And man, she scared me. She was trying to scare the devil out of me, scare the cancer out of me. She scared me. She said, you will prosper. This woman's only like maybe 4'10", maybe 90 pounds,
I'm
if
taller
that.
than her.
She's tiny, but she's powerful. And
Yes,
all the
she
things
is.
that she was saying from inside, I said, I've got to be like that. We all have to be like that. When the times get tough, you've got to get tougher. Yes, I have an affirmations routine. I have a Facebook page where I put affirmations that anybody can use and stories and strategies that anybody can use because I think that's part of the reason that I'm still here to give that away. I changed other things too. I changed my diet. I'm now 100% vegan. I went to vegetarian first, then to vegan. Was it hard? Yeah. Was it? I mean, every time I smell a steak when I go by a steakhouse, I just want to turn and go in, but I force myself not to. What you put in this body is the fuel that you need to fight. I needed a different kind of fuel, the natural fuel, the fruits, the nuts, the berries that my favorite book talks about. That's what I'm trying to put in this body, trying to eliminate the sugars, eliminate anything else, but to keep that. I also, every single day, and I'm 67 years old, but I look oh so good. 67
Yes, you
years
do.
old. Say it again. I go out and I work out. Whether it's walking, working in the yard, lifting weights, not as heavy as I used to, but lifting some weights, doing something, always moving, because if you don't move, I'm telling you, it'll move in on you. So
Mm.
bottom line is you've
Say that
got to,
again, John.
if you don't move, whatever diagnosis you have will move on you. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you're in a wheelchair, if you're bedridden, if you can move a hand, if you can move a finger or two, eventually you'll move more. And pretty soon you'll be moving all of your body. I can tell you that because my dad was diagnosed and in a coma for several months. And he actually came out of the coma. And the doctor said, try to get us first to pull the plug. We didn't. Mom wouldn't do that. But, and not to spend a lot of time on his diagnosis and his story, but uh, when he came out, he couldn't speak. He was blinded and he was paralyzed. And the doc said, we got to put him in a home. And mom said, like hell, we'll put him in a home.
Mm.
She brought him home and she worked with his arms. He was a guitar player. And she'd put his guitar on his lap and she would pick up one arm and strum, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of times until his body started learning again. She taught 14 children, us, and 63 great grandchildren how to speak. So she taught my dad how to speak again. And then he got up one day and started to walk. And he started,
Wow.
it took a while. And he lived another 18 years. He died at age 80.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, there's proof in this. I know too many stories, so many stories of people that have gone through this. Conversely, I also know about the people who were told, you're going to die. And they go, okay, boom, gone.
That is absolutely true. I had a girlfriend that was diagnosed with a disease, and within 30 days, she was gone.
Mm-hmm. I think every disease that we're diagnosed with, whatever it is, you can beat it to some degree, maybe totally. You can fight it. You can live with it. You can thrive with it. All of them except one. And I told you what it was earlier. If you were born ugly, there's no cure for you. I mean, there's face
Now, John, there's plastic surgery.
Yeah, but it's ugly.
You know, what I hear you saying is, in order for individuals to focus, to press forward, is that they have to find a why.
Exactly. How do you become resilient? Your
Mhm.
why. I told you my first why was I wanted to see my daughters graduate. Eh, maybe that's even a small why. That was pretty close to the first why. My first why was I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die at 47 years old. I was in perfect health. I was a retired military warrior, had never been in the hospital, had never been sick enough to even have one day off from work in all of my military career and my civilian career. And then all of a sudden, I've got a deadly cancer and I'm dying.
So
No,
how did you, because we've heard over and over again that cancer is a silent killer.
yes.
So what happened with you that made you go to the hospital, a doctor's office?
It almost was a silent killer for me. Had it not been, I was flying back from a trip to Hawaii. I was on a business trip, and I landed in Dallas and went to the men's room and had an episode of red blood in my urine. Should have been painful, should have been horrific, but it wasn't. Just red blood. What is the first thing I did? Some kid must have thrown Kool-Aid at the urinal. See,
Mm,
men will do that. Men will deny any of that kind of stuff. But I went in, and that's when the diagnosis, the first, second, and third diagnosis started. But I'll tell you, to answer your question specifically, people, all of us humans, especially males, women are better at this than men, but we must go in early and often for checkups, early checkups, early yearly annual checkups, just to see how the body is functioning, if something is off. Had I done that, maybe we would have found it sooner. Maybe I wouldn't have had to go through all the trauma that I went through. I don't know. I don't care. This is the journey that I've been on. So I can be here with you for your listeners today and for others. But the bottom line is there's so many radical changes and approaches to fighting cancer today
yes.
that doctors and nurses with simple things like a blood test can find out what your PSA is and know what you if you've got uh, prostate cancer or not. A mammogram can tell if you've got breast cancer, and a lot of these are curable. The amount of cancers that are incurable are fewer and fewer. And that's only a matter of time, because there's some incredible geniuses at the place where I go to, the number one cancer center in the world, that they're studying this, and that's all they do. But the amount of cancers that have been diagnosed that are now curable, treatable, has
Yes.
grown exponentially. So I say, if you own a Mercedes or a Maserati or a top end car, don't take it to the backyard mechanic. Take it to the best dealer you know. To me, for my body, it's MD Anderson, not the local hospital, not the regional hospital, not the three that told me go home and get your affairs in order. 2 weeks shy of being dead, according to their 2 months of diagnosis, I was in week 6, is when I wound up at MD Anderson. And here I am 20,
Okay.
20 years later.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know that people are listening are saying, "Wow, that's amazing," and are going through this same thing right now and said, "If he can do it, I can do it."
That's
So
the key.
I applaud you for having the courage to talk about it, because I said your why is so that you can help others and encourage them to participate in their rescue. Because a lot of
Exactly.
people won't. They fear grips them, and they're so afraid of what they heard till they forget that they're their greatest asset.
A mutual friend of ours, Johnny Wimbry, I remember the first time I heard him speak, he said, most people will not participate in their own rescue. Whoa, that was heavy.
Hmm.
We all know, and we know that it's going to be hard. So what if it's hard? It's better than smelling wet dirt on your casket for the rest of your time as you're
Yeah,
laying in
life
a
is
hospital.
hard. Life is hard. Even without illness, life is hard, but you
I mean,
have to
there's
fight for it.
exactly. There's marriages that fail. There's jobs that get lost. There's finances that get strewn through, credit and all of that stuff. All those things are hard things to go through, but you have to go through them to get to the other end. So is a diagnosis of your body with a prognosis that's pretty negative. So it is too. But you have to fight it with all the tenacity you have. Period.
Absolutely. Now, how can people follow you, John?
Well, two ways. They can go to www.johngarcia.com. Pretty
Can't
easy. I
miss
think
that.
you can miss that. And it's not JON, it's JOHNGARCIA, johngarcia.com. And and that's just the website. If you really want to follow me, go find me on Facebook and follow me, because I put in daily affirmations and daily stories and strategies that help people. And on Facebook, my handle is John Garcia Unlimited, one long word, John Garcia Unlimited. You can find me, uh, shoot me a friend request, and then start following. If you want to talk to me personally, send me a chat message, and we'll talk. Because I believe the reason I've been left here is to help others, and I try to do that
Absolutely.
every day. I try to find, especially when I'm in the hospital for my treatments, I look for people that have that deer in the headlight look, because I know they've just been diagnosed. How do I know? I've been there. Once you've
Mm.
been there, you know what it's like. And I'll sit down and talk to people. Sometimes people will gather around. I'm like the Pied Piper. They think I'm a doctor at the hospital. No, no, I just have been through this journey, and you can make it through this journey as well. I tell you, I've yet to find any person that walked away from one of those sessions, and I'm not beating myself on the back here, but anybody that walked out saying, "Well, he could do it, but I can't." Everyone rises up and says, "I can do it too. I can do it too. I can do it too." And that's God working through me. I just said, "Yes, Lord, I'll be your vessel if you let me." And here I am, 20 years later, still doing His work.
Yep, I said I had Les on a couple of weeks ago, and he did a segment, Health Talk. I don't know if you saw that. And he was talking about how he was stage 4 for almost 20 years now, and he's been fighting, and he's still traveling all over the world and doing what he does. He goes and he eats right, he exercises, and he takes all natural products that that operate from the cellular level. And, so those that want to know some of the products that Les takes, you can shoot me an email at drvalparker@gmail.com, and we'll share that information with you. But all these things are so important. But like John said, the mind,
Align,
as a man thinketh,
absolutely.
so is
Align
he.
yourself, align yourself with somebody who has done or has gone through what you want to do or what you're going through, and you have a better fighting chance because wherever two or more are gathered and ask in his name, oh, stop me now. Stop me now. In fact, I called Les the other day and I said, Les, where are you going next? He said, Miami. I said, can I serve you? Can I go there to serve you? I'll wash the dishes. I'll serve the coffee. Do whatever you want me to do. He said, no, you're coming and you're going to be on stage. I don't know where. I know it's in Miami. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
what the
know somebody.
location.
So I'll see you then.
Okay, then you send me the venue location because he said I'll send it to you today, and you know how Les gets busy. So just
Yeah.
send me that so I can book my flights and all of that.
Okay. I look
Good,
forward to seeing
good to
you.
see you.
I remember when you were going through your treatments, because you didn't tell the part about how you started giving yourself chemo.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah,
Um,
but I remember seeing you. I hadn't seen you in a couple of months because we were on the road traveling all the time. And
right.
then you said that you were coming to the training, and I said, okay, look forward to seeing you. And when you walked in and I saw this white hair because you had black hair and stuff, and you came in, I said, look at Moses.
My hair went completely white for the audience in a span of 2 weeks when I started taking a certain chemo that they had designed for me. My hair went from completely black to completely white, and my eyelashes fell off, my eyebrows
Mhm.
fell off, all my facial hair, my arm hair, all my hair of my body down to my toes gone, but not this. And it just turned white. And people said, "Huh, you look trying to console me, right?" Because they thought I was feeling bad about. Oh, but you look distinguished. And I'd look at them and go, "But I'm trying not to be extinguished." I'm
I
trying not to
know.
be
I
extinguished.
actually like it better. You do look radiant, and with your hair silver. Like I was saying, I was like, that's what Moses must have looked like when he came down off the mountain. That's the first thing I said to you.
Yeah, it's funny because I was sitting there and I didn't have much of a voice. Dr. Anthony
Right,
was
right.
facilitating, and he said, you don't have to participate in these exercises they were doing. I said, I'm going to not only participate, but I'm going to do twice as much as the others. And he looked at me and goes, are you sure? Absolutely. And I was at the top of my lung capacity. It helped me. I was able to open up more just because I was around like-minded people and I was able to force it, something that I didn't know. But yeah, I had this, during the middle of the day, people looked at me, go, well, where did John go? Oh, he went upstairs. He said something about giving himself chemo. Yeah, I've been having infusions, chemo. I've been doing immunotherapy, chemo. I've done cryoablation, which many people never heard of. It's freezing of the tumors. I've done radiation. I have done so many different types of approaches because I'm a guinea pig. But
Mhm.
look at me.
Yeah, you're
I'm
still here.
thriving. I'm thriving. And even the doctors will look at me and go, we don't have a clue. I say, oh, stick with me. I'll tell you. I'll tell you exactly why. Tell you exactly why I'm still
With
living.
God, all things are possible.
Yeah. In his time, not mine.
Mhm.
So that's my story.
Well, I am so excited and happy that you decided to join me. And if you want to follow up with John, johngarcia.com. You can find him on all social media. So reach out to John and he DM him, as the young people say, DM him. And I'm sure he'll be happy to help serve you. Peace and blessings. Thank you for joining us, John.
Thank you.
Reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Hot topics from the soul.